And the journey is going to involve a lot of questions. And the question will be centered around something very, very, very important. It has to be said. Sorry, I'm sweating a lot. I just came in from playing tennis for about an hour, 30 minutes thereabouts. So that's why I might be perspirating a lot. So it has to be said that an unexamined life is not worth living at all. An unexamined life is not worth living at all. So as an unexamined nation, a nation that does not constantly examine itself, will never do well. And the problem with an unexamined life is people don't want to be accountable. They don't want to be accountable. They don't want you to be able to ask them questions about why they did what they did. Why they did what they did. Why were they not able to make changes in the life of others? So when that happens, then you have an unexamined life. It's just like our nation too. Today we are celebrating, or we are inching close to 25 years of unbroken democracy since 1999. But the truth is that we truly examined our lives and examined our democracy and asked, why is it not working? But the problem is when you try to examine it, a lot of people try to tell you have no right to be able to examine it. Because they know when you examine it, it's going to come back to them. And there are many things that they ought to do that they did not do. There were many things that they ought to do that they did not do. And because they don't want to be accountable, they turn it into fights. It's just like a woman that asks her husband, "No, meet my needs. Perform your responsibility as a father." And he doesn't want to be accountable. So what does he do? He starts a fight. He starts a big ruckus. He starts a fight because he doesn't want to be accountable. And truth has to be said, you cannot live your life without having a level of accountability. Because an unexamined life is not worth living. There is no how. If you want to live, you must be subject to accountability of some sort. And the problem is a lot of people don't want that accountability in their lives because they want to get away with a lot of things. Just like a man that says, "Oh, I do" to a woman, and the truth has to be said, after he says "I do" to a woman, he still wants to be sleeping with other women out there. And his wife accosts him and says, "Why are you doing this?" Then he turns it into fight. It's because he doesn't want to be held accountable. And you see, there's no how. Anytime you don't want to be held accountable, you're going to cause more problems for your generation around. And that's why the second segment of the message I'll be playing will be a powerful message by Professor Lumumba. And for the next couple of months, I'll be playing his messages a lot, also with my own. Because if you don't want your life to be examined and you don't want questions to be asked, then there's no way forward. And when there's no way forward, there can only be disaster. So the truth has to be said. An unexamined life can never be worth living. Have you ever taken out time to examine your life? See, apart from your village people that you think they are doing you, most of the things that have happened to you in your life too, as a result of the offshoot of your own decision-making process. So the question is, what has your own decision-making process been like? When you were supposed to be accountable, were you accountable? When you were supposed to stand up for yourself, did you stand up for yourself? When you were supposed to stand up and be counted, did you stand up and be counted? Have you ever asked yourself, what role did you play in the breaking of that marriage? But you were also sleeping around, weren't you? You were also fornicating and frolicking with all sorts of women around. So if you were doing all of that at the same time and you don't want to be examined, then the truth is, how much do you want your life to change? Because you see, if you don't examine your life and know the problems that you caused, you will keep repeating those problems. The reason why Nigeria has not moved forward as a country is because we don't want an examination to know the problems we caused. And that's why we keep roaming around those problems. We caused a lot of problems with corruption. So if we are not ready to check it and truly be honest, we're not going to move off the corruption, but a lot of people don't want that corruption problem to be solved because they benefit from the corruption. They benefit from the corruption. So as long as it benefits them, they would rather for that problem to be continuous rather than for it to be solved. And that's why I keep saying an unexamined life is not worth living. You know the problems you set up for yourself in that company. When you were stealing company funds, you know. When you were stealing company funds and using it on XYZ women in your life, you knew. So you're seeing all your friends progressing and you're seeing that you've been stalled in your life. But the question is, but you knew all of this. Didn't you know? You knew now. You knew that there were going to be repercussions for your actions. But you kept on doing the things that you ought not to do. And your analogy is that you always thought you were going to get away with it. So now that you cannot get away with it too much, it has caused a problem in your life. So when I say an unexamined life is not worth living, it's a reflection that the only time our life will make sense is when we constantly evaluate our lives. And when we constantly ask ourselves questions. Because if we don't ask ourselves questions, nothing will happen in our lives. And the reason people fail is that they don't want to ask themselves those questions constantly. You want God to bless you. You want all the good things of life to come to you. But you're not ready to examine yourself and ask yourself the deep questions. Now, what could I have done better in all of this? That's what we call constant examination and evaluation. Now, what could I have done better in all of this? You, as a woman, you just kept on causing problem for your man. You can't sit one place. You kept on causing problem and destroying his name. That's what you did. You kept on destroying it. And you know what you did. To what extent, I don't know. God gave you a God-fearing man. You know what you did. You kept on destroying his name. Now you are 60, you are lonely. You are now saying, if you had known. But you see, the God that gave that man a good name kept that man on. He finally remarried. He's doing well. Now you're sulking where you are. But you know you deliberately use your hand to destroy your life. You see, most of the things we do in our life is by our own hands. You know when you start to destroy your life. But because you don't want to examine your life, you don't want to do well. You know where your problem started from. You know when you were drinking and you were smoking, and they told you smoking is bad for your lungs. You know when you started. You know when you were cheating. You know when you were doing these things illegally. You know when they told you that you ought to save money. And you were not saving. You were buying all sorts of luxury. You were buying cars to impress people that didn't even care about you in the first place. Go and check 1990. The billionaires of 1990 are different from those today. Times will always change. What you should leave are legacies for the future. Don't always think about having the flashiest cars or flashiest things. The flashiest car in 1990, Benz 1990 model today is an antique. So how about you building legacy? But education that you earned in 1990, things you built for humanity, business that you built in 1990 can still sustain. The luxury you bought in 1990 will be out of fashion. So use your money to do things that are sustainable. There's a saying in some parts, they say the old world. The old world had its own luxuries and things like that, but the new world has subsumed the old world. It's a world of AI and things are different. There was a time in this country organza material was reigning. Today, people don't hardly talk about organza that much. So you knew when you were doing all those things. You knew when you were spending all sorts of money on frivolities. You knew. You knew that an unexamined life was not worth living. But you continued in that regard, and people were telling you these things. But you ignored them because it suits your own person. But today now you're living in penury and now walking everywhere looking for all sorts of things. You knew when you were making those bad decisions. You knew when they were telling you that investing in this kind of life of womanizing and drink is not the way forward. You knew it. But you kept on at it. And now when the effect and the repercussion came, you are complaining. Most of the problems with humanity are man-made. And it's only human beings that can solve them. Why can't you live in peace and harmony with everybody? When you were starting the tribal war, you knew what it was going to create. When you were trying to pit two religions and tribes against each other, you knew you were going to cause a lot of chaos. But you continued because in your own small-mindedness, you think you were going to get away with murder. Nobody gets away with things in life. You know what the Yoruba say? They say, "Ashik bikosi, ashik pamoloa." You can't do and just get away with it. So when you were causing the chaos, you knew. Unnecessary chaos. You knew that that woman was not bad to you, but you just decided to override her stance on things. You knew that that woman was good to you, but you constantly was cheating. You didn't respect her. And you think you can do it forever? You knew that that man was good to you. Despite all the lies you went to lie, you knew. When you are doing the evil, you know deep inside of you. But it's because you don't want to examine yourself and you don't want to examine your life. Just like Nigeria, we knew when we were bringing this country down. Didn't we know? We knew when we were spending our future earnings today, when people were being corrupt and nobody could check it. But because we don't want to be accountable, we kept on with our way of life, our livelihood. We forget that an unexamined life is not worth living. So, the problem comes afterwards. Then you start to complain. This is not the time to complain. This is the time to ask yourself the genuine questions. Could you have done it a lot better? Could you have done it a lot better? Could you have done it a lot better? So let's ask ourselves this pertinent question, because if we don't ask ourselves this pertinent question, we don't thrive and we don't succeed. We don't thrive and we don't succeed. And when we don't succeed, we don't achieve anything. So I plead again, an unexamined life is not worth living. And the earlier you understand this, the better it is for you. So what are you going to do now? Number one, you need to examine yourself every day. Ask yourself, are these actions the best actions possible? I want you to ask yourself, are these actions the best actions possible? Are my words going to foster societal development and peace? My actions of today, can I stand by them 15, 20 years down the line? Have I been able to bring peace and succor to everyone crying out there? How many people even thank God for my life? How many people can thank God that I truly lived to be able to ease out the pain of suffering people? What is my essence? And what do I give to my generation and my world? What have I been able to do? Am I a peacemaker? Am I a bridge builder? Am I a life changer? Does my name connote integrity? Can people trust me? And when people trust me, what do I do with their trust? Do I break it? There are a lot of you out there. People have trusted you with their love and you've broken it. You see, if two people are in a relationship and somebody is doing for the other person, meeting your financial needs, it's not that they're foolish. It's because they've trusted you with their love. So when you take that love for granted, you are the foolish one. Because human beings naturally are selfish. But for somebody to be willing to share what they have with you is the greatest level of trust they put in you. So when you break their heart, you think, oh, you are smart, you're clever. No, you are the biggest fool in the world. Because guess what? At some point in their life, they're going to meet people that truly appreciate what they shared with those people. And in the end, you will be the miserable person. I hear a wave of stupidity going on. That people that should be committed in their marriages now say they want to explore. After you gave your fidelity in commitment to one woman, and you bring another woman to the house, you say you want to explore, you want to have threesome. Women, please stop accepting that rubbish from some men. If some men can still be babies and you cannot stay committed to one woman, just let the world know that you cannot be committed to one woman. But as long as you're saying you are committed to one woman and you do to that woman, the true test of character is in being committed. And increasingly, I'm seeing people trying to commonize illicit acts of fornication, adultery, and all sorts. Doesn't make it right. Oh, they say it's the new world thing. Yes, there will always be the trends of new world stupidity. But it doesn't mean you should follow the bandwagon. It is permissible to put your hand inside fire, but it will burn. So all of the things you say is the new world thing. You womanize, you have relationship with all sorts. The truth is, it will burn you at some point, and it doesn't justify it in any single way. Because when you examine your life many years afterwards, you should truly ask yourself, is it worth living? Is it worth living? Is it really worth living? Will the same children that you bore in that relationship be proud of the fact that your father was exploring outside with their mother when their mother was there? Nobody's saying it's easy to stay fidel, but you must have to stay. And that's the true test of character. These are messages that will set your life straight and set it anew. And these are the messages you should listen to. Because an unexamined life is not worth living. You can never live a life that you don't examine from time to time. If you want to live a life that you don't examine from time to time, then it's not worth living, because you're going to make a lot of mistakes. So in the process of exploring, you never read the book of the words of Solomon that it says everything was vanity upon vanity, because it's all vanity. And the true satisfactory thing is being committed to that person that you truly love. Not by breaking the bed or defiling the bed, in the spirit of exploration. Exploration with a lot of diseases out there. Exploration with a lot of physical chaos. 0818-099-1991. 0818-099-1991. We'll take some calls. Then we have Professor Lumumba come join us up. 0818-099-1991. 0818-099-1991. Those are the numbers to call us up on. 0818-099-1991. An unexamined life is not worth living. An unexamined life is not worth living. And I tell you that. Hello. Hello? Oh, sorry. Hello?
Good morning.
Morning. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Bright.
Bright.
Also known as Unexamined. I'm coming from Osho.
Great to have you from Osho. Talk to me.
Yes. Tell me, good morning, sir. God bless you.
Morning. Bless you.
I tuned on my radio this morning. I was listening to all your teachings. In fact, it's awesome.
Bless you.
May God continue to bless you.
Amen.
The topic of today says unworthy life. I think I'm right.
An unexamined life is not worth living.
An unexamined
It's
life
not worth living.
It's not worth living.
It's not worth living.
It's not worth living. It's not worth living, because listening to your teaching each morning, I begin to have a reflection over my life. The areas that I feel I'm weak, what can I do to improve them? Especially on the area of trust. God bless you. I have to go back and begin.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Bless you. Bless you. A lot of you can't be trusted. The reason why you have not had the breakthrough is that you can't be trusted. The people that are supposed to help you know you don't have integrity. That's why you've not had the breakthrough. It's not your village people. But you know.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Great to have you. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, I'm Martin from Barga.
Please turn on the volume of the radio set, my brother. Turn it on.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I'm Martin from Barga.
It's problematic. Let it go. The reason people can't trust you. You're a woman. You want the man to marry you. You've been dating for a while, but you keep giving him problems every time. The reason why he has not married you because he's not sure, and you have given him doubts because you have misbehaved too many times. You are the ones that causes unnecessary problems every time, and you want him to marry you. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Morning. How are you?
I just logging. Good morning. My name is John.
Where are you calling from, John?
I'm calling from Lagos.
Where in Lagos?
In Osho.
Okay, John, go ahead.
I just heard the program logging in this morning.
Yeah.
And I want to quickly put my mouth in the issue.
Yeah.
And if you look at it very well, in my own aspect, people cannot ever make it because of their selfishness and let me just put it selfishness. So that is what the major things that make people not to be successful in life.
That's it.
Let me use my own as an example. When I was in school, so I do all things to make sure I stay successful and all these things. Was not going well. I have to drop out even when I was in 300 level. So I have to drop out. So I have to face business. So as it is, by the grace of God, everything is okay by the grace of God. It's not all about just facing one thing. If you face one thing and you see the thing is not working out, you turn on to the other. You pray to God. Everything will be successful.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And that's why you need constant examination. You need to ask yourself constant questions and examinations. That's why you say, you know what, an unexamined life is not worth living. At all. What legacies do you build? By the grace of God, 29th of June, we're going to open the health hub that I've been building for a while in the village. So last year was a library, this year health hub. These are the two things I said about 3 years ago that I wanted to do. And for me, a lot of people have said, oh, why are you doing this? I said, can we give other people a chance that other people have left behind? Can we give them a chance at library? Can we give them a chance at health? And we're going to have a health outreach on the 27th at the Oseni Center in Odobulu. I'm sure the ads will be running on the radio soon. So the essence of life is giving back. It's living legacies. There are some people, they are old men. All they live is a legacy of divisiveness. It's not a legacy of the truth. Divisiveness. Because of their own self-conceited interests. They have bad characters. An unexamined life is not worth living. They can't stand for the truth. Because they are so knee-deep in benefiting. You think life is all about money? It's not. It's not. It's about impact. It's about impact. And sometimes you will learn to walk away from things that you know might be detrimental to the future. If someone says they'll give you money and you shouldn't talk when they go wrong, no, that's not the kind of money you want in your life. The Bible talks about the blessing of God maketh rich and addeth no sorrow. So an unexamined life is not worth living at all. We'll take some few calls. We're going to wrap up early today. I want that message of Lumumba to come in too, really quick. I'll take some few calls. If I can take some calls for the next 10 minutes, if your calls come, but if your calls don't come in. It's a short and quick sermon today. 0818-099-1991. 0818-099-1991. And my back-end buddy, Dozier, will be leaving us soon at the end of the month. You know, he was the one a lot of you reached out to when he got married. I thank you guys so much for helping him reach out to him. But he says he's going to move on with his life. So we're going to have somebody that'll help me on the back end at the radio station. Thank you so much, Dozier, for your service. I acknowledge you. I said I was going to acknowledge you today on the show. An unexamined life is not worth living. So 0818-099-1991. How do you examine your life? Introspect, ask yourself questions. A man that doesn't have time to think cannot live a good life. So you must have times where you just sit down, you lock yourself in the room and you think. It's not every time you must be in the midst of people. You must be able to think about your life and your legacies and what you stand for. Secondly, you must be able to be willing to accept your faults when you're wrong. It's a very difficult thing. Not everybody likes to accept their faults. We get defensive about our faults, really. That's how we are wired as human beings. But a man that really wants to grow needs to look beyond being defensive and say, I'm not perfect. Like I say every time, I'm not perfect every time. I'm a work in progress. 0818099191. The registration you can connect with is 90.3 FM if you're in Lagos. Or you can just go to YouTube and check Voice of People 90.3 FM. You get our YouTube page and you can listen to us every part of the world. Hello, how are you?
Hello.
Great to have you.
Morning, sir.
Morning, great to have you.
My name is Anne from Sherry.
Great to have you, I'm from Sherry. Go ahead.
Okay, sir. Today's
Can you speak up a little bit louder, Anne?
Hello?
I cannot hear you properly. Can you
hear me, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, so today's message will be touched high on a personal level. Personally, I've been in a relationship for over 10 years. And along the line, he hurt me. And during the process, I had a child. And obviously it wasn't his child. Loved one because in the process he stood by me and we resolved our issue. But for the past month I've been reflecting on, like you said, breaking trust. And I'm wondering, do we are fine now? But I keep asking myself, do we trust me? Like you said, if we don't hold ourselves accountable, for things. While we're hoping for the best, we have to prove ourselves trustworthy. We have to take conscious steps to stop certain things. Still a work in progress. But God is helping me. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I mean, I really appreciate you. But at some point, you just need now start going back to healing. That's just it. And that's very thoughtful. And for every one of you that needs some level of healing in your life, I pray God will help you. I pray it will heal you. And I pray it will try as much as possible to heal every part of your life that is broken. So that's about all we'll be able to take this morning. Dozier, please just take it away. Play that Lumumba's message. And it promises to be a great Sunday. Bless you all. Thank you so much. Yeah.
BOP 90.3 FM.
There comes a time in the affairs of man when the voice of the people stands unique, constantly challenging societal status quo. 90.3. It is a great place of fun and insight. It is a great place of learning. It could be your school on radio. It could be your life on radio. We are VOP, Voice of the People. VOP 90.3. voice is strong. It is the voice of the people. Entertainment unparalleled. Satisfaction guaranteed. VOP, Voice of the People. VOP, Voice of the People.
For the perfect getaway?
Look no further than the luxurious accommodations at Airport Golden Tulip Hotel, Lagos, number 42, Muritala Muhammad International Airport Road, Lagos.
Relax and unwind in a beautifully appointed rooms featuring all the amenities you need for a comfortable stay.
Whether you're traveling for business or pleasure, our attentive staff is here to ensure that your everyday need is met. We also offer complimentary pick-up and drop-off from the Lagos airport.
Take advantage of our state-of-the-art fitness center, outdoor pool, and enjoy a delicious meal at our on-site restaurant.
With stunning views, world-class service, and a prime location, Airport Golden Tulip Hotel, Lagos is the perfect choice for your next vacation or business trip.
So, why wait? Book your stay today and experience ultimate in comfort and luxury at Airport Golden Tulip Hotel.
For bookings and reservations, please call 0815-8003-333 or 0815-7003-333. You can visit our website at airportgoldentuliphotel.com.
Airport Golden Tulip Hotel, where luxury meets comfort.
Amid a new political administration, Nigerians groan under the weight of fuel subsidy removal.
I know that if fuel subsidy is removed, the price of fuel will go up. If it's going to guarantee that we have availability of the PMS, why not?
The removal of the fuel subsidy should be a good idea. But what is the subsidy going to go into? What are they going to use it to do? How will people cope? Are they going to increase the monthly income of people? Is the prices of goods and services going to go down?
PDP, NNPP and others form coalition to tackle the Illinois Progressive Congress.
We've seen mergers in the past between 1979 and 1983 when President-elect Shiv Shekari was president of our country. There was a merger that failed.
Because it is often said that the worst democratic experience is far better than the best military administration.
Election Tribunal sacks Kano governor.
I want to believe that it is part of the solutions, strategies or tactics for deepening our democracy, not to allow our democracy to become a one-party democracy.
Trends in the news, issues in the polity.
Coalition has never given Nigeria a solution. Coalition has always been to favor their own new agenda. If Nigerian Labour Congress cannot save us, if the judiciary cannot save Nigeria, is it the coalition of bourgeoisie?
Join Esther Mwachukwu and her learned guest on the Political Spotlight every Sunday from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. on Voice of the People 90.3 FM to discuss topical issues and find recommendations including lasting solutions to these issues on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. The Political Spotlight. Debating issues, analyzing reports.
Oga politician, this money where you carry come your constituency come dey distribute anyhow. No be say dem say make you distribute am. Na to do community work. Wetin happen? If you no fit do the work wey dem ask you to use the money do, return the money to government treasure. We need our money. Make people don't call you Ole. If you do like Ole, then go call you Ole.
Normally, I could keep my cool, but tonight I'm whining.
Oh no, man. Make this girl dey safe. I beg me she can't help me give Mama Jite this crayfish. Mark yourself, don't cause. This economy safe now, wah. Oh no, man.
Yes, Mama. I dey come. I dey hear sports show we get plenty lamba. Mama, it too sweet die.
Which kind of sports show be that?
Mama, na Football Fans Lounge show, pidgin version, wey dem dey call Friday Lamba show with Kizike. Every Friday from 5 p.m. run go reach 6. Yes, so Mama, I never see any sports show wey go fit totori my body like this. Jimmy, see, if Kizike dey talk in pidgin like this, e go be like say dem dey press my 79, 91 and 50. My button go dey do tanana. That show dey burst my shakmanene 2 seconds. I beg for safety everywhere legit.
Points between and beyond.
Football Fans Lounge pidgin version. Na show wey be say you sef wey dey hear me so no go fit ever miss lie. Kizike na him be VOP FM Lamba master. You wan try? So my country people, make na dey listen to Voice of the People 90.3 FM Friday Lamba show with Kizike and him ogbonge analyst, all dem Mr. Fields, Charles and plenty other football analysts. Make everywhere for leche. I beg for safety.
Hello, this is your good radio pal, Citizen Jones Usen, with the Voice of the People VOP Radio 90.3 on your dial. Join me, Citizen Jones, every Saturday 7 to 8 a.m. on newspaper headliners and 8 to 9 on Citizen Jones This Morning. I'll be sharing 2 solid hours of compact radio with you. Keep the date, Saturday 7 a.m. to 9.
Drug use has been prevalent amongst the youths. What do you think can be done differently?
This is simple. It is because of the way they find themselves. When you engage them in the right direction, when they become productive, the values that shape a society is critical in behavior and controlling what people want to do to earn a living.
About 14.3 million Nigerians between the ages of 15 and 64 are drug abusers. Spends approximately $15,000 and $30,000 annually on psychotropic drugs and alcoholic beverages, respectively.
The Senate accordingly resolved to mandate the Committee on Drugs and Narcotics, direct the Nigerian Education Research and Development Council to review the Nigerian curriculum for basic and secondary education to include special drug education as a compulsory subject in such schools. Direct the National Universities Commission to make the inclusion of special drug education as a compulsory course in the General Studies program, while the National Orientation Agency and the Federal Corporation of Nigeria should increase the rate of public campaign against drug abuse in Nigeria.
This is Voice of the People.
90.3 FM.
We give you a voice. I love football, and that for me is passion. Imagine a football show without Kizike. So boring. I love all VOP FM shows, but my favorite is the Football Fans Lounge. Every weekday, Monday to Friday, 5 p.m. Football Fans Lounge show is worth listening and very much impactful, as Kizike and his crew analyze all games played during the week and even the weekends. What a beautiful way to start up my week. So my people, keep listening to Football Fans Lounge on radio VOP 90.3 FM with Kizike, the voice of the mic, and other amazing football analysts.
What time is it?
Oh, lest I forget. The show time is 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. I'm out.
Are you listening?
Tune in to Matters every weekday from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. right here on Voice of the People Radio, VOP 90.3 FM. Join Ikabi Jide for an engaging exploration into the intricate world of global politics. We cover anything and everything from international relations to global political landscape. That's right. Matters is your daily dose of informed discussions, breaking down the latest political headlines and providing insights into the decisions that impact us all. Stay informed, stay engaged, expand your knowledge, and be part of the conversation that matters.
You are live on the Nighttime Show with Ryan. Let's have a conversation to promote healthy relationships and social issues all in one. The Nighttime Show is going to be fun, having segments like Dear Ryan, Confessions, Love Talks, Open Mic, and more will put you on the edge of a beautiful night. The Nighttime Show. It doesn't matter what ships you are on, just tune in every Tuesdays to Fridays on your number one People's Radio, Voice of the People, 90.3 FM.
The best of football talks rocks your radio every Saturday at 12 p.m.
That is magnificent. That is why he has got the golden boot.
Tune into the Soccer Scoreboard show.
Real Madrid on the counter. Benzema in the box again. It puts it into the
on the People's Radio, Voice of the People, 90.3 FM, Lagos.
Unexamined on goal here. He has option square, and it's off the line by Virgil van Dijk.
Don't miss it.
The Evening Rush with Pressures. Let me bring you a reminder of hot topical conversations of the day.
Even state investors. That's what you're saying. You've not funded those as well.
Critical analysis of hot and trending topics on Hot Topics.
That's enough for a responsible government to take appropriate action.
Politics.
If every president, every governor, every minister, every commissioner took his job seriously, this country would not be where it is.
Economy.
We're not growing in terms of what's happening with the economy.
Lifestyle. Human angle.
Put the government on notice.
And sometimes the unusual. Evening Rush with Precious. Monday to Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. 90.3 Voice of the People FM, Lagos. Now,
you have a voice.
Drug use has been prevalent amongst the youths. What do you think can be done differently?
This is simple. It is because of the way they find themselves. When you engage them in the right direction, when they become productive, the values that shape a society is critical in behavior and controlling what people want to do to earn a living.
About 14.3 million Nigerians between the ages of 15 and 64 are drug abusers. Spends approximately $15,000 and $30,000 annually on psychotropic drugs and alcoholic beverages, respectively.
The Senate accordingly resolved to mandate the Committee on Drugs and Narcotics, direct the Nigerian Education Research and Development Council to review the Nigerian curriculum for basic and secondary education to include special drug education as a compulsory subject in such schools. Direct the National Universities Commission to make the inclusion of special drug education as a compulsory course in the General Studies program, while the National Orientation Agency and the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria should increase the rate of public campaign against drug abuse in Nigeria.
This is Voice of the People.
90.3 FM.
We give you a voice.
Oga politician, this money wey you carry come your constituency come dey distribute anyhow. No be say dem say make you distribute am. Na to do community work. Wetin happen? If you no fit do the work wey dem ask you to use the money do, return the money to government treasure. We need our money. Make people no call you ole o. If you do like ole, dem go call you ole.
Hello, this is your good radio pal, Citizen Jones Usen, with the Voice of the People VOP Radio 90.3 on your dial. Join me, Citizen Jones, every Saturday 7 to 8 a.m. on newspaper headliners and 8 to 9 on Citizen Jones This Morning. I'll be sharing 2 solid hours of compact radio with you. Keep the date, Saturday 7 a.m. to 9.
Football.
It's all about the skills and the sets.
Lovely touch from Leo Messi.
Nani. Rooney! Oh, wonderful! What a goal!
The bruises and the bruises.
Joshua
The twists and the turns.
And Cristiano Ronaldo has matched the scorcher he scored in Porto.
The dribbles and the drop shoulder.
Making a day for an in-depth analysis of events from the field and tracks on Football Fans Lounge.
Napoli can't believe this. They've torn Liverpool apart again.
Football Back to Benzema. 1-0 to Real Madrid. Benzema with his 13th goal of the season. It's the deadly duo once again.
At 5 p.m. every day with the best radio team
on the best radio in the city of Lagos.
Voice of the People, 90.3 FM.
Are you listening? Tune in to Matters every weekday from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. right here on Voice of the People Radio, VOP 90.3 FM. Join Ikabi Jide for an engaging exploration into the intricate world of global politics. We cover anything and everything from international relations to global political landscape. That's right. Matters is your daily dose of informed discussions, breaking down the latest political headlines and providing insights into the decisions that impact us all. Stay informed, stay engaged, expand your knowledge, and be part of the conversation that matters.
The Evening Rush with Pressures. Let me bring you a reminder of hot topical conversations of the day.
Even state investors. As we're saying, you've not funded those as well.
Critical analysis of hot and trending topics on Hot Topics.
That's enough for a responsible government to take appropriate action.
Politics.
If every president, every governor, every minister, every commissioner took his job seriously, this country would not be where it is.
Economy.
We're not growing in terms of what's happening with the economy.
Lifestyle. Human angle.
Put the government on notice.
And sometimes the unusual. Evening Rush with Precious. Monday to Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. 90.3 Voice of the People FM, Lagos. Now,
you have a voice. The best of football talks rocks your radio every Saturday at 12 p.m.
That is magnificent. That is why he has got the golden boot.
Tune into the Soccer Scoreboard show.
Real Madrid on the counter. Benzema in the box again. It puts it into the
on the People's Radio, Voice of the People, 90.3 FM, Lagos.
Unexamined on goal here. He has option square, and it's off the line by Virgil van Dijk.
Don't miss it.
Amid a new political administration, Nigerians groan under the weight of fuel subsidy removal.
I know that if fuel subsidy is removed, the price of fuel will go up. If it's going to guarantee that we have availability of the PMS, why not?
The removal of the fuel subsidy should be a good idea. But what is the subsidy going to go into? What are they going to use it to do? How will people cope? Are they going to increase the monthly income of people? Is the prices of goods and services going to go down?
PDP, NNPP and others form coalition to tackle the Real All Progressives Congress.
We've seen mergers in the past between 1979 and 1983 when President-elect Shehu Shekari was president of our country. There was a merger that failed.
Because it is often said that the worst democratic experience is far better than the best military administration.
Election Tribunal sacks Kano governor.
I want to believe that it is part of the solutions, strategies or tactics for deepening our democracy, not to allow our democracy to become a one-party democracy.
Trends in the news, issues in the polity.
Coalition has never given Nigeria a solution. Coalition has always been to favor their own new agenda. If Nigerian Labour Congress cannot save us, if the judiciary cannot save Nigeria, is it the coalition of bourgeoisie?
Join Esther Mwachukwu and her learned guest on the Political Spotlight every Sunday from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. on Voice of the People 90.3 FM to discuss topical issues and find recommendations including lasting solutions to these issues on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. The Political Spotlight. Debating issues, analyzing reports.
Drug use has been prevalent amongst the youths. What do you think can be done differently?
This is simple. It is because of the way they find themselves. When you engage them in the right direction, when they become productive, the values that shape a society is critical in behavior and controlling what people want to do to earn a living.
About 14.3 million Nigerians between the ages of 15 and 64 are drug abusers, spends approximately $15,000 and $30,000 annually on psychotropic drugs and alcoholic beverages, respectively. The Senate accordingly resolved to mandate the Committee on Drugs and Narcotics, direct the Nigerian Education Research and Development Council to review the Nigerian curriculum for basic and secondary education to include special drug education as a compulsory subject in such schools. Direct the National Universities Commission to make the inclusion of special drug education as a compulsory course in the General Studies program, while the National Orientation Agency and the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria should increase the rate of public campaign against drug abuse in Nigeria.
This is Voice of the People.
90.3 FM.
We give you a voice.
You are listening to your number one station. The Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. Do not touch that.
There comes a time in the affairs of man when the voice of the people stands unique, constantly challenging society's status quo. 90.3.
Professor P.L.O. Lumumba is a distinguished scholar and legal luminary, holding a Doctor of Laws in the Law of the Sea from University of Ghent, Belgium, as well as a Master of Laws and Bachelor of Laws from the University of Nairobi. He has received honorary Doctor of Letters degrees from the University of Cape Coast, Ghana, and a Doctor of Science degree from Bells University of Technology here in Nigeria. With a rich background in human rights, humanitarian law, and international humanitarian law, Professor Lumumba has served as an advocate in the High Courts of Kenya and Tanganyika and is a certified mediator. His influence extends beyond the legal realm. Welcome, Professor Lumumba.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. You may resume your seats. I'm a great opponent of lengthy introductions.
I've been using Quillbot Premium for 30 days and all I can say is wow. The different modes took my writing to the next level. Let me show you how. I got this long report about a project I'm working on for a client, so I could spend a few hours digging into it. Or I could drop it into the summarizer tool. Now, Everything I need is bulleted out here on the side. Next, I need to write a recap of this. What I wrote is a little long, so I hit shorten mode in the paraphraser tool and it cleans up all the clutter. Oh look, an email from my client asking for an update. As I'm typing out my response, Quillbot's Chrome extension checks my grammar. Looks like I forgot a comma. It even suggests rewrites on my emails. Now, this line is a little more formal and work appropriate. Try Quillbot Premium and see the difference it makes in your writing.
Shalalonga takes over. Damian with the ball in.
What brings people together? For Anwar, it's the festivities. Although he may be far away from home, from here, he can give his son the life he really deserves. For Maria, on the other hand, food was enough to bring her family together.
Let me start by thanking the pastor and his wife, and also appreciating those who have spoken before me and those who are present to listen to our presentations. Without you, we would be talking to ourselves. There is a sense in which much has been said. If it is the history of the continent, slavery that has been mentioned, if it is colonization that has been spoken to, if it is neo-colonization that has been spoken to, if it is in describing the continent of Africa as having been divided so very arbitrarily in Berlin in 1884 and 1885, that has been spoken to. And we have been told so very correctly how that continues to bedevil the continent of Africa and to undermine our attempts at unity. Those of you who are students of history will remember that in 1963 in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and in 1964 in Cairo, Egypt, the debate was, should we redraw the boundaries? It was agreed by the founding fathers then that that would be an exercise in fueling conflict, and that if we were moving towards unity, then redrawing boundaries was unnecessary. The OAU was, of course, founded in 1963, a weak organization which, as it were, introduced the concept of inviolability of boundaries and placed emphasis on sovereignty. We have been told that that could very well be the reason why Africa's growth has been stunted. There are those, and the SMO has told us so very effectively, that upon consultation with the gods, he has been told very useful things, and the gods are right in the revelation that they have made. The gods are right in saying that we have suffered in many ways and continue to do so, and that therefore the post-independence African country or countries are bedeviled by many things. That could be a reason. It has also been said that part of the reason why we have not realized our potential is because we make the wrong choices. And that could very well be true. And my brother who spoke about choices so very well told us that it all rests on the choices that you make. And you who are Christians will remember that at critical moments, even in the Christian tradition, it has always been a question of choices. If you read the book of 1 Kings at chapter 18, when there is conflict in that little place called Israel, Elijah summons them and says, choose you now. If Baal is God, bring the 450 disciples of Baal and the 400 of Asherah who dine with Jezebel. And if God is God, let him be worshipped. If Baal is Baal, let him be worshipped. Perhaps that is the reason why we are where we are. We never make the right choices. We choose Baal when we should be choosing God. There are those who have said possibly, and you see this choice if you read the book of Joshua chapter 24, when he calls the Israelites and tells them, choose you now. Do you want to worship the gods whom your ancestors worshipped before they crossed the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you dwell? As for me and my house, we shall serve the Lord. Perhaps we are not serving the gods, and that the gods are angry. And in the anger, they continue to visit pain upon us. So there is a sense in which all and many things have been talked about. But Africa sometimes judges ourselves very harshly and with a jaundiced sense of history. The post-colonial African state, the oldest post-colonial African state is Ghana, 66 years only. Nigeria, 63 years only. And we often forget these very important and immortal words of John Henry Clark when he said that all African countries, upon regaining independence, started to conduct their affairs on the basis of systems of governments that were borrowed from Europe, and that none of them will ever succeed on the basis of borrowed systems. And as if he were a Jewish prophet, he is being proven right on a daily basis. Because whenever we in the African countries think that we have identified the problem and that we have identified the antidote, when we apply the antidote, new wounds appear. That has been the state of Africa, and that continues to be our state. And therefore, when we judge Africa, we must ask ourselves, from whose lens are we judging Africa? When in 1965, the Osagie for Kwame Nkrumah wrote the book Neocolonialism, the Last Stage of Imperialism, and the Most Dangerous, he was right, and he was overthrown for it, because the colonizer left but never left. And if you have any doubt, see what is happening in Niger, in Guinea, in Burkina Faso, in Mali. They are alive and well. And Africa remains the only continent in the world that is still referred to as Francophone, Anglophone, Lusophone, and now we are beginning to even call it Russophone and Sinophone and Indophone. There is a sense in which we must never forget this, so that when we are judging Africa, we ought to judge her on the basis and upon the realization that the headwinds that stand on our path are numerous, and that there is no shortage of fifth columnists within our ranks. The SMO spoke, and if the SMO were to speak a little longer, he would have reminded you of what Chinua Achebe said in Things Fall Apart, that they came and put the things that held us together, and we can no longer reason as one. And he said, we may have sent the white man away, but what about our brothers whose minds they have infected and infested? And there is no shortage of them. So Africa can and will arise. And if you look at the continent of Africa, she has always been conscious of the need to do right things. And if you look at the continent since 1963, and I can remember this so very vividly, I can remember Kwame Nkrumah in 1957 on the 6th of March saying, the freedom of Ghana means nothing if the rest of Africa is not free. He says the same thing in 1958. He repeats the same thing in 1960 in Casablanca, Morocco. He repeats it again on 25th of May, 1963 in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, where he tells the 32 heads of states gathered there, we must live here with one army. We must live here with one currency. We must live here with one foreign policy coordinated. And I even suggest that we can have a capital, and I suggest Bangui in Central African Republic because it is the most central. But we listen to him not. After that, of course, we have had our gains. Under the aegis of the OAU, Africa was able to eliminate apartheid, South Africa. Under the aegis of the OAU, Africa was able to chase away the Portuguese in Cabo Verde, in Angola, in Mozambique, in Guinea-Bissau. Under the aegis of the OAU, Africa was able to chase away the apartheid regime in what is now Namibia and the Ian Smith regime in what is now Zimbabwe. Let us not judge ourselves too harshly. We have made our mistakes, but sometimes it is proper, as my sister said, that we see half full glass rather than half empty. We must not debilitate ourselves by constantly bashing ourselves and looking at Africa from jaundiced eyes from Europe and America. And I'm suggesting to you, we have and will continue to make our mistakes. Look at Africa and the decision that she has made for ourselves over the years. As early as 1980, Africans sitting here in Lagos, Nigeria, came up with the Lagos Plan of Action. And the Lagos Plan of Action told Africa, in order for Africa to realize our potential, we must trade amongst ourselves. But the neo-colonizer was not resting. A little earlier, 5 years earlier, the neo-colonizers had sat down in Lomé, in Togo, not too far from here, and came up with an agreement of African and European and Pacific countries. And when that did not work, they sat again in Cotonou here in Benin and came up with the Cotonou Agreement. They are never resting. We must never forget that. The neo-colonialist is alive and well and is always trying to frustrate what we do because Africa is their hunting ground. And we did not stop there. When we are doing things, you tell me what Africa has not tried to do. In terms of the airspace, we agreed in Yamoussoukro, in La Côte d'Ivoire, that we will open our airspaces in 1988. We sat in Abuja here in Nigeria in 2001 and said we were going to spend not less than 15% of our budget in the health sector. We sat in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea in 2014 and said we were going to focus on agriculture. We sat down in Maputo in 2013 and said we were going to ensure that our women were mainstreamed in the activities of Africa. We sat down in Abuja in 2013, in 2014 and said we were going to have free movement of people, and once again sat down in Kigali, Rwanda 2018 and said we were going to eliminate visas. We sat down in Abuja and said that we were going to silence the guns in 2013. We did not. And we sat down in 2020 and said we were going to silence them. And now the guns are alive and well. And who are supplying us with the weapons? It is not us. It is others. Should we blame them? Yes, we should. Should we blame ourselves? Yes, we should. So Africa has always been a battleground. And the rhetoric that we see and the manner in which we ourselves are educated. My sister talked about education. But really, what are we teaching ourselves? It is fella Nicola Pokuti said, "Teacher, don't teach me nonsense." And I'm suggesting to us that most of us, including most of us who are here, we are so very thoroughly miseducated that what we must do is to unlearn the burden that we have in our mind. Those of us who are lawyers, when do we feel happiest? when we cite an English authority to determine a land case in Abeokuta. When we talk about the reasonable man, we don't talk about the reasonable man in Akeke, in Apapa. We talk about the reasonable man being the man in the Clapham omnibus in London, England. That is how miseducated we are. And until we are re-educated, we who are present here are part of the danger to Africa. Because even in our unguarded moments, I went several years ago to the university at Harvard and talking to students, and one of them said that Harvard was the best school in law, in teaching of law. I said, whose law? Nigerian law? Ugandan law? Zimbabwean law? They can only be best in teaching their law, not ours. And I've seen we who are in this space of education, somebody spends 6 years at Unilag, and when they go to Harvard or Stanford for 3 weeks for a short course where they spend most of the time taking tea, he comes back and says, an alumni of Harvard. So the time is now. The time is now to begin re-educating ourselves. The time is now to exorcise the ghost of low self-esteem. You know, Africa has many things. We have talked about our mineral resources. We've talked about our arable land. We have talked about many things, but from where I sit, the greatest African resource is the human resource. You know, Africa has been so wronged by other civilizations. We were the enablers of the first industrial revolution. When our ancestors were taken to work in the farms in Europe, we enabled that revolution. Right now, we are enabling the fourth industrial revolution and the fifth industrial revolution. That is why they have talent visas, because they are taking our talent. If it is not nurses, it is our IT gurus. If it is not our IT gurus, it is our engineers. And we are gleefully letting them away. I see our heads of state saying, we have signed a contract to take our workers to Saudi Arabia, modern day slavery. And you know, just this morning, my wife sent me a proverb from Turkey that when you elect a clown and you think that he will be a king, what he does is to convert the kingdom into a circus. And I am suggesting to us that that is part of the African problem, because it starts with political hygiene. Most of Africa is suffering because we do not have democracies. We have kakistocracies. And kakistocracies are governments by our very worst. This is what we must deal with, and this is what we must say. Who do we elect into our public offices? Because, as I've said before, when you allow hyenas to take care of goats, why should you be surprised when the goats are eaten? This is the same. And Africa is only going to realize our potential in all areas when, by dint of choice, we enable and allow our best men and women to serve in different areas. I've heard it being said about Lee Kuan Yew in Singapore. I've heard it being suggested about Mahathir Mohamad in Malaysia. I've heard it being said about Japan. I've heard it being said about other countries. But there was a conscious decision on the part of those individuals and the followership. We always talk about leaders, but we never talk about the followers. The followers must also style up. Africans on average are for some reason attracted to thieves. Africans are for some reason attracted to men and women who cannot serve her. And when they are not served, then they complain. When Africans are told, choose you now whom we shall release, Jesus of Nazareth or Barabbas, they say, release Barabbas. And when Barabbas behaves like Barabbas, they say, why are you not behaving like Christ? It cannot be done. And this is what we must do. And I am submitting to us that it can be done and it should be done. I know a number of African countries, and I travel this continent sufficiently to know that there are African countries that are doing well. They are trying. There is no nation without trials and tribulation. We are fond of talking about the United States of America as an exemplar of that which is good and bad. When they said in 1776 that they held certain truths to be self-evident, that all men were born equal, that they were endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable right, that among those who are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, were blacks included? No, they were not. Did they not fight a civil war? Yes, they did. Are they not frustrating people until 1963? Did George Floyd, was he not killed only recently? There is not a single nation without trials and tribulation. And we must therefore remind ourselves that we have the wherewithal to catapult Africa into a different orbit. And Nyerere of Tanzania once said, we must also define what development means. And he said, development does not mean necessarily the building of skyscrapers. There is nothing wrong with that. But let the Americans go to the moon. We are going to provide water to our villages. We must define what development means. And once we define what development means and we define ourselves, then Africa shall realize our potential. In 1996, Thabo Mbeki talked about an African. Who is an African? Who are you? Define yourself first. The Chinese define themselves. The Indonesians define themselves. The Koreans define themselves. We must define ourselves and begin to believe in our institutions. You know, and I see it in this part of the world. When we want to look at our economy, we say, what does Moody's say? And Moody's is very moody when they come to Africa.
Yes. Yes.
Moody's. Can the Department of Economics at Unilag not do that? Can't they? McKinsey, an American outfit, they are the ones who come here and tell us how our economy is behaving. When the American dollar as much as sneezes, the Naira goes into a coma. Why? 63 years after independence in Nigeria, 66 in Ghana, 61 in Kenya and many other countries, we still believe that somebody else's currency is what must define us. 63 years after independence, we are still importing chicken as if our chicken forgot how to lay eggs. The time is now for Africa to ask fundamental questions. Because if you ask the wrong questions, you'll get the wrong answers. And I'm suggesting to us that Africa is already asking those questions. You know, in the year 2013, African heads of states and government sat in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. That was during the chairmanship of South Africa's Nkosazana and Dlamini Zuma. And they decided that we can no longer continue to live in this muck and mire. Africa must know progress. And they came up with Africa Agenda 2063. My sister spoke to it so very ably and eloquently and passionately. What we don't say is that during that week, Nkosazana and Dlamini Zuma wrote an apology letter to Kwame Nkrumah. telling Kwame we apologize. What we are doing now, you saw in 1963. A house divided against itself cannot stand. Now we are living through Africa Agenda 2063. We are living through the Sustainable Development Goals. And I'm not a Jewish prophet nor related to one, but I can confirm to you we will not fulfill any one of them. You cannot, in the nature of things, engage the reverse gear and then think you'll reach your destination. You cannot. And that is what most African countries have done. So the time is now, as the cliche goes, when you are in a hole, you stop digging. And Africa must stop digging. And if we stop digging and we look at what we have, Africa Continental Free Trade Area says that we are going to trade amongst ourselves in the world. Africa trades ourselves at best at 20%. Europe at about 70%, North America possibly 65%, Asia now going to 60%, Latin America going to 55%, Africa 20%. What must we do? We must stop certain things that stand in our way. Conflict. Look at Africa as I speak to you. Look at Sudan. For the last 2 months, there is no economic activity in Sudan. They are destroying what they once built. Even if you wanted to trade, who do you trade with? Generating as at now 2.5 million refugees. I do not hear the voices of African leaders, no. Their silence is eloquent. And when they speak mutedly in sanitized languages, and people are dying. Children who ought to be vaccinated in Sudan are not getting vaccinated. Here in your neighborhood in Cameroon, children have not gone to school for the last many years. Conflict. In northern Mali, the country is divided de facto into two. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, 120 armed groups, yet it is the busiest airspace in the continent of Africa. Minerals are being taken away to Europe and America. Central African Republic, the same. Libya, the same. Several months ago, I wrote to the chair of the African Union and all African heads of states and said, convene a meeting with only one agenda item. What can we do to save Africa from this slide? Only 4 replied. That is the state of the continent of Africa. We must deal with the basic things. We must solve conflict. We must change our governance. Because if we don't deal with the question of governance, we are going nowhere. Africa has become a continent where after every election there is conflict. Because the pursuit of power is a cutthroat competition where throats are actually cut. And when the SMO was here and he consulted the oracles, he discovered that we have a problem in that direction. And that the sooner we resolve that, the safer we will be. Africa can rise and Africa will rise. But it's not going to rise by prayer and fasting. We must pray and fast, but it will not happen. Because the last time I checked, even those of you are believers, when Abraham was taken from Ur of the Chaldeans and given Canaan, it was not on a silver platter. He had to fight the Canaanites. He had to fight the Philistines. That is the nature of divine instruction. Go ye and subdue the world by the sweat of thy brow. The kitchen where they make manna was closed. Manna will no longer come. Because you must now make your manna. And it is our duty, therefore, as Africans to begin to rethink the younger generation. You know, there is a saying in Chichewa in Malawi that more precious than our children are our children's children. So when we are doing these things, we must remind ourselves that we are doing for this generation and generations yet to be born. When my good sister was speaking, she started in 1969 about the education. We were alive. Then you came to the year 2023 and we are alive. But when you came to the year 2077, knowing as we do that we are not immortal, we shall be assumed into heaven. Some of you who will be alive, you will be old and possibly stupid and not very useful to anybody. This is why we say it is intergenerational. So, brethren, what we must now do is to ask ourselves, then what do we do? Beyond the rhetoric, what do we do? And what is beautiful in Africa now, not only in the continent of Africa, is that there is a consciousness. You know, I'm in a church setting, and sometimes it is good to remind you, for those of you who believe and believe rightly, even in the Bible, sometimes those who are saying the right things think that they are the only ones, thinking in silo. You remember Elijah going and saying, but Lord, I'm the only one who has not bowed to Baal. He was told, no, there are 7,000 others. And as I travel across Africa, there are 7,000 others. Today I've seen many of them. Today I've had the honor and privilege of listening to many of them. One enlightened more than the other. One more passionate than the other, talking about what we can do. And talking about the place of Nigeria in that space. Times without number have talked about Nigeria and reminded Nigerians that the day you become great, that is the day Africa becomes great. When I hear Nigeria economists and politicians telling me that the GDP of Nigeria is 500 billion United States dollars, and that therefore it is the biggest economy in the world, I am reminded of the words of Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, my friend, when he says, in a debate between dwarfs, what is the value of one dwarf saying I'm taller than the other dwarfs? You are still a dwarf. This Nigeria is capable in 5 years of becoming a 3 trillion GDP economy. The fundamentals are there. Talk of human resource. And I think it is my sister, you go to anywhere in the world, tell me, engineering, artificial intelligence, space, Nigerians. The saying goes, if you go to any part of the world and you do not find a Nigerian, run away from there. Because there is nothing to be done there. It is these Nigerians who will move the country. I keep on reminding my Nigerian friends, you say you are 220 million. No, you are not. I suspect you are 300 million. And if my suspicion is correct, you owe this region and this continent the talent. You know, when people talk about instability in Nigeria, I ask them, can you handle refugees from Nigeria? Can you? You cannot. They'll overwhelm the entire West Africa. So it is in Africans' genuine desire that Nigeria remains great and becomes great. All the ingredients are there. Writing in 1983, Chinua Achebe, in his book, The Trouble with Nigeria, said that it is simply and squarely a problem of leadership. That is an African problem. And I also want to say it is also a problem of followership. Before the Ezemwe started speaking, he talked about what is expected of him in the village. When you are appointed into a public office in Africa, they actually expect you to be a thief. And if you don't steal, they say you are not wise. So in the minds of many people in Africa, Abuja and Lagos are hunting grounds where they send their sons and daughters to take antelopes, which they share in the village. That thinking must change, because service for humanity is what we must look at. And I have no doubt in my mind that Africa can do it. When I look at Africa and I look at Nigeria, I see an Africa that is capable of rising because our sons and daughters now present in the continent and even in the diaspora. You go and see the Africans in the diaspora, whether they are in Antigua and Barbuda, and my good friend here, the ambassador of Antigua and Barbuda, Wallace Williams, Trinidad and Tobago, will agree with me in that regard. You go to St. Vincent's and Grenadines, you go to Jamaica, everybody now wants to come and invest in Africa. But we must make the circumstances right. So we must improve our politics. We must make our laws enabling. We must improve our agriculture. We must improve our health. We must improve our education system. We must improve the quality of the environment so that we stop our young men and women dying in the Mediterranean Sea, dying off the coast of Dhaka, going into modern day slavery in Saudi Arabia, in that part of the world. It can be done. We have seen it done during our lifetime. We have seen South Korea do it. We have seen China do it. We are seeing India do it. We can see Indonesia doing it. We have seen Vietnam after the war doing it. And within the continent of Africa, there are other examples. We have seen Rwanda rise like a phoenix during our lifetime. We have seen Botswana do it. We have seen Cabo Verde do it. We have seen Mauritius doing it. It can be done. And if we agree that it can be done, what we must now do is to take a solemn vow. And that solemn vow must come from these words spoken by Julius Kambarage Nyerere on the 6th day of March 1997 in Accra, Ghana, when he was called upon to be the guest on the 40th anniversary of Ghana's independence. This is what he said, and I say this, then I shut up and sit down. Mwalimu said, when Kwame Nkrumah told us in 1963 that we ought to unite, we agreed with him. And we did not for one moment believe that unity in and of itself will solve our problems. What we believe that unity will make our voices as Africans to be respected, because the rest of the world is not bothered about our Ghanaianness or our Tanzanianness. He did not say this, but I'm adding, but our Nigerianness or Ugandanness. The rest of the world only knows about Africa. The time is now. Our generation fought the colonialists and brought what we thought was independence, but they gave us the crown without the jewels. But of all the sins that we have committed, there is a single sin that we must never commit: the sin of giving up, the sin of despair. And each one of us must remember that we have a role to play. We have a role to play because if the ocean is to exist, the droplets must be good. If the forest is to exist, the trees must be good. Play your part and let the results be the testimony of your efforts. God bless you.